My name is Mary. I grew up in a quiet village where kindness was woven into everything we did. If someone was hungry, we fed them. That's how I was raised, and that's exactly what I did when Flora came into my life. She had run away from home. Her stepmother had treated her like a stranger in her own father's house. That morning, she'd been accused of stealing money she swore she didn't take. When I saw her sitting by the stream, dusty and afraid, I didn't see a thief. I saw a broken girl. A girl who just wanted peace. My husband, Ken, and I were preparing to move to town. He had just gotten a better job, and we were trying to pack up our simple life here. I told him gently, "Let's take her with us. She can help around in the house. Let's help her, please." But Ken frowned. "I don't like having other people in the house." "She can stay in the boys' quarters," I offered, "if you will allow it." He hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "If that's what you want, then no problem. Let her come with us." That's how Flora became a part of our lives. When we moved into the small flat on the edge of town, she moved into the boys' quarters behind the house. From the very beginning, she was a blessing. She helped with everything: cooking, cleaning, laundry, even going to the market every Saturday. She was wonderful with the children, bathing them, dressing them, helping with homework. They loved her. And honestly, so did we. With her help, settling into our new life became easy. Ken and I often said to each other, "What would we have done without Flora?" Ken was even more grateful than I expected. He would smile at me and say, "Mary, thank you for bringing her in. You really have a good heart." I treated Flora like a sister, like a first daughter. Whenever I went out, I never came back empty-handed. Shoes, wrappers, small gifts. "Flora, come and collect your own." I would shout with a laugh. She would smile shyly and say, "Thank you, Auntie Mary." Everyone who came to visit would say the same thing. "This your house help doesn't look like a house help at all." And I would smile and reply, "That's because she's not. She's family." Because of the nature of my work, I left home before sunrise, sometimes even before Ken woke up. And I never returned until minutes after dinner. Everything at home was in Flora's hands. She picked the children from school, fed them, bathed them, put them to bed. She prepared Ken's food too, always ready, hot, and placed carefully on the dining table. I would come home tired and find the house spotless. The children fed and sleeping. Ken relaxed and watching TV. I felt blessed. I would say it out loud. "God, thank you for this girl. What would I have done without her?" I made sure Flora never felt like just a helper. I treated her as my own. She wore clean clothes, ate what we ate, sat freely in the living room when guests weren't around. Whenever I bought something new for myself, I bought one for her too. She loved shoes. She loved perfumes. I made sure she had them. And truly, she never looked like a house help. She was beautiful. And people told her. Often. One morning, as I braided my daughter's hair, I looked at Ken and said, "I'm no longer comfortable with Flora staying in the boys' quarters. I want her to move into the main house. That way, I can keep a closer eye on her." Ken, sitting on the couch with his newspaper, didn't look up. "That's fine," he said. "She can move in." I smiled, gave him a peck, and returned to parting my daughter's hair. Flora was happy about the move. She now slept in the guest room near the children's room. I gave her clean beddings, a fresh towel, and even hung a curtain for her. That Saturday, after chores, she visited her friend Cynthia. "I now live inside the house," Flora said, smiling. "Auntie Mary is sending me to learn fashion design soon. She's so good to me." Cynthia looked unimpressed. "And so, isn't she supposed to help you after everything you're doing for her?" "But she's kind," Flora replied, confused. "I see the way her husband looks at you," Cynthia added bluntly. "He likes you." "He does not, at least not like that. Please stop it." Flora stood and left quickly. But even at home, her mind kept replaying what Cynthia said. She watched Ken more closely now. His tone, his smile, his glances. Small things. normal things. But now they felt different. She hadn't changed yet. But something inside her was not the same. And me. I was still smiling. Still believing I had a peaceful home. Flora began to watch him. Not just glance, watch. Every movement Ken made now felt different. The way he cleared his throat before speaking. The way he said good morning, Flora, with a small smile. The way he dropped his car keys on the table, stretched, and walked into the bedroom. These were things he'd always done. Normal things. But now, they lived in her mind, differently. That evening, she served him food, like she always did. Ken was seated, scrolling on his phone. She placed the plate gently in front of him and said, "Your food is ready, sir." He looked up and smiled. "Thank you, Flora." That smile. That voice. Was there something behind it? As she walked back to the kitchen, she found herself smiling too. And she didn't know why. That night, she couldn't sleep. She replayed moments over and over in her mind. Not real memories, just feelings. A new kind of attention. A quiet curiosity. She didn't dress differently. She didn't act bolder. Not yet. And the saddest part. Mary, the woman who had given her shelter, protection, love, was still smiling. Still trusting. Still thanking God for her. Flora's dressing began to change. She went to the market one Saturday and returned with a small nylon bag filled with new outfits, tighter, shinier, shorter. She didn't wear them around Mary. No. She waited until the house was quiet. After dinner. When the children were asleep. And Auntie Mary hadn't come back from work yet. Slowly, she started moving differently. Her steps slower, more deliberate. Her voice softer, more polite than necessary. And always, her eyes, watching Ken. Then one evening, she played her boldest card yet. Ken was sitting in the living room watching a movie when a loud scream echoed from the hallway. "Jesus! Snake! Snake in the bathroom!" He sprang up and ran toward the voice. What he saw made him stop in his tracks. Flora stood in the corridor, dripping wet, wrapped in only a towel clutched tightly around her chest. Her shoulders trembled as she whimpered and pointed toward the bathroom. "I saw something crawl behind the bucket. I think it was a snake," she cried. Ken blinked, stunned, not just by her panic, but by her body, glistening with water and barely covered. He swallowed hard and turned quickly toward the bathroom. "Stay there," he muttered. "Let me check." He entered, searched everywhere. Behind the buckets, around the toilet, even behind the door. Nothing. After a few minutes, he returned to her. "There's no snake there," he said. "You probably just saw something moving." If nodded, still pretending to be shaken. "Okay, thank you, sir." He turned and walked back to the living room, the sound of her wet feet fading behind him. But in his chest, he felt different. He sat back down on the couch and stared at the screen. But he wasn't watching the movie anymore. He was trying, and failing, to shake off the image of what he had just seen. The towel. Her bare skin. Her eyes, wide and soft. He shifted in his seat. Then again. But the image stayed. It was a Saturday, the kind of day Mary loved most. A break from work. A chance to be with her family. She had planned a simple outing. Just her, the kids, and Flora. Ice cream, fun games, a way to reconnect. "I want to spend time with Flora and the children," she had said the night before. "We don't do that enough anymore." That morning, Ada got the children dressed while Flora handled breakfast. Everything seemed fine. But just as they were about to leave, Flora came into the room, holding her head. "Auntie, please. I'm not feeling too well. I've had this terrible headache since last night. I'll still do the chores, but I'd love to rest afterward." Mary turned to her, concerned. "Oh no, Flora. I'm so sorry. All right, don't stress yourself too much today. I'll get you something nice on our way back." She meant it. That was Mary, always thoughtful. With that, the car pulled out of the gate. Flora stood by the balcony, watching until it disappeared down the road. And then, she smiled. Not a smile of relief. A different kind. She went back inside and began cleaning quickly. Not because of her headache. No. She had other plans. The house was empty. Quiet. Perfect. She hurried to her room, changed into one of her new outfits, the one Mary had never seen. Then, she stood in front of the mirror, turned side to side, adjusted the neckline, and nodded to herself. Her eyes glimmered, with purpose. Ken had just returned from the barber shop, tired, slightly drowsy from the heat, and expecting a quiet house. He didn't ask about Mary or the children. He simply assumed they were out for the day. As he entered, he heard soft music playing in the kitchen, not gospel, not high life. Something slower. Something unfamiliar. He paused. Strange. Then he saw her. Flora. Standing by the kitchen counter, wearing a red dress he had never seen before. The dress clung to her like water. Her back faced him, her waist moving gently as she hummed along to the music and stirred a pot on the stove. She turned slightly, enough to let him see her smile. "Oh, welcome, sir," she said, her voice soft, eyes lingering. He cleared his throat. "Where's Mary?" "She went out with the kids. To the park. I wasn't feeling too strong, so she let me stay back and rest." "I see." He stood there awkwardly for a few seconds, then sat down in the dining chair, scrolling through his phone. But he wasn't reading anything. He was watching. She moved differently now, slowly, confidently. She brought him a drink without asking. A cold drink, opened and placed gently in front of him. "I made jollof rice," she said. "Hope you'll like it." He nodded. "Thank you." She smiled again, and walked back to the kitchen, hips swaying, back arched just slightly more than usual. After the meal, Ken leaned back in his chair, patting his stomach. "That was really nice," he said. Flora smiled, clearing the plates without a word. Then Ken got up, walked to the bar shelf in the corner of the dining room, and brought out a bottle of red wine, the strong kind Mary always said was too bitter to enjoy. He opened it, grabbed 2 glasses, and looked at Flora. "You'll join me?" he asked, eyebrows slightly raised. She giggled. "Of course, sir." They sat, side by side now, sipping, laughing, a little too loud, a little too long. 1 glass became 2. 2 became 3. The air grew heavy with silence between each laugh. With every glance, every sip, every subtle touch of hands brushing against each other. Then, Ken leaned in. Floral didn't pull back. They kissed. And just like that, they tumbled into the bedroom, hands grabbing, breath shallow, wine forgotten on the table. The room closed behind them. No guilt. No restraint. Meanwhile, at the recreational center, Mary sat on a bench, watching her children play. But her mind wasn't there. She kept thinking about Flora. "I hope she's okay." She glanced at the time, then at her children. "Prince, princess, let's go," she said gently. "But Mummy." "No arguments, please. We're going home. Flora is not feeling well, remember." They got into the car. On the way, Mary stopped by a shop and bought Flora a cute hair bonnet and a bottle of her favorite soft drink. She drove into the compound. Everything looked normal. Too normal. She came in through the front door with the kids behind her. The sitting room was empty. "Flora," she called. No answer. "Ken." Still silence. She walked into the kitchen. The plates were rinsed but not packed. The wine bottle on the table, half empty. 2 glasses. Her brows furrowed. Why are there 2 glasses? She shrugged it off, assuming Flora had shared a drink with her husband before lying down. "I'm sure she's sleeping," she mumbled. Mary turned to the children. "Go and change your clothes." She carried the nylon with the bonnet and drink and walked to her room to change her own clothes too. She opened the door. What she saw made her freeze. There, on her own bed, lay her husband and the girl she took in. Asleep. Entangled. Mary stood in the doorway, frozen. No words. No scream. Just silence. She turned slowly, walked back to the sitting room like a ghost in her own home. She sat down on the sofa. Straight-backed. Hands on her lap. her children's laughter still echoing faintly in her mind. Her heart, numb. She wanted to leave. To pack her things. To carry her children and run. But where would she go? She was new in this city. Her job was just beginning to take shape. She hadn't even saved enough for rent, let alone relocation. So she Saturday. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Then 2. Still, she waited. Much later, the bedroom door creaked. Footsteps emerged. Ken walked out first, shirtless, sluggish. Then Flora, dressed hurriedly, head down. They both stopped cold when they saw Mary sitting there. Back straight. Eyes dry. Ken's face turned pale. Mary. She didn't respond. She stood up slowly, picked up her handbag, and walked past them without a glance. She went into the bedroom, packed a few clothes. Folded them carefully. No rush. No noise. Then she walked into her children's room. And shut the door. No crying. No shouting. Just pain, buried beneath silence. At first, Flora felt guilty. She avoided Mary's eyes, tiptoed around the house, offered short greetings with a bowed head. But guilt doesn't last forever. Especially when pride starts to grow in its place. Soon, she began to carry herself differently. Not as the girl Mary brought in from the village, but as an equal, even a replacement. She no longer woke early to prepare the children for school. No longer rushed to clean, or cook, or ask what needed to be done. She started dressing bolder. Walking slower. Giving orders. And Ken. He let her. Mary saw the changes. And she felt them, deeply. Everything she had built, her home, her peace, her family, had been hijacked in silence. And worse, it began to affect her work. She would get to the office late, sometimes forget to submit reports, sometimes leave early to attend to what Flora no longer did. Her boss called her in one Friday afternoon. "I don't think this is working anymore," he said. And just like that, she lost her job. That night, Mary lay on the narrow bed in her children's room. The fan above creaked quietly. One of the children stirred beside her. But she was wide awake. Her eyes on the ceiling. Her heart aching. Memories rolled over her like waves. The early years in the village. How she and Ken shared food, borrowed money, built dreams with nothing but hope. She had stayed when everyone told her to walk away, because she believed in him. And Flora, the girl she called sister. The girl she defended, fed, clothed, loved. This wasn't just betrayal. It was heartbreak layered in silence. Mary said nothing. She didn't cry. She just decided. She would not walk away empty. But she would do something. Sometimes, pain doesn't come with screams. Sometimes, it teaches you patience. And patience can be quiet revenge. I cooked for them. I served them. Smiled at the table, poured the wine, offered seconds. Day by day, I watched the light behind their eyes flicker. A cough here. A dizzy spell there. Stomach cramps. Sleepless nights. They blamed stress. I said nothing. But one night, as I watched them laugh over dinner they didn't deserve, I felt no joy. Just emptiness. This was not who I was. I remembered my mother's words. Leave some battles for God. His justice is always perfect. So I stopped what I was doing. The next morning, I handed Ken a document. Ken now weak. He didn't even read it. His hands shook too much. Just sign, I whispered. He signed. Everything, the house, the cars, the business shares, all transferred to me. I packed my children's clothes and left that house with my head high. Just silence. Let them have each other. Weeks passed. Flora stayed. For a while. But the shine wore off. There were no more fine wines. No stolen kisses. Just bills, responsibilities, and a man who could barely get out of bed. She packed her own bag one morning. Didn't say goodbye. Just left to go and stay with her friend for a while. She never came back. And Ken. He was left with the echo of what he destroyed. Alone. Empty. As for me, I started over. New house. New job. My children laughing again. And every time I hear their laughter, I thank God for giving me the strength to walk away. Because sometimes, leaving is the loudest thing you'll ever do.
Thank you for listening to Stories by Zoma. These aren't just stories, they are mirrors, lessons, and reminders. If this touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay kind, stay wise, and keep the story alive.